As I've mentioned before, I don't do that a lot, but I thought tonight I just kind of, I don't know, I felt like doing it. Yeah, it's dark. I'm out in the Biltmore Circle area of of Phoenix tonight, where I was getting in an evening walk. If you do the entire circle, you can get in about 3 or 4 miles, and so that was kind of nice. A little bit stormy off in the background every now and then. You might even get a chance to see a little bit of lightning popping from here and there. But trust me, I'm nice and safe here and not taking any chances or whatever. And you may have noticed too in the title I put in because it tends to get some attention whenever I talk about Sarasota Tim. And I know a lot of you have watched Sarasota Tim, and he's the guy that talks about how at age 62 you should take your Social Security and you're going to have a great life, and he's living the good life, and he's grown his channel, and life's great. He's got a new girlfriend. She's got some grandkids. He lives in a camper. I mean, his life is great. And people often tell me that we love Tim's channel because he's just so positive and uplifting, and he has just these great messages. And I think that's great. I really do. And people that come to my channel, it's a whole different set of reasons you're coming to our channel. You know, I'm the guy that lost his wife way too soon in life. I'm the guy that's not having exactly a fun life like our friend Sarasota Tim, although I wish I could, and I wish I was, but it's just not that easy. Um, any of you who are watching who have lost someone, I think you can probably relate. I mean, when you lose the love of your life, it's hard to get that that happy, uplifting feeling all the time. And I do messages about grief and the journey, and I tell you how to get through the bad days, and how you can make the bad days into good days and all that good stuff. And I love sharing that with you. But it's sometimes I'm just going to be upfront with you. It's all a facade. It really is. Um, Today is one of those days. I mean, unlike Sarasota Tim, I haven't taken my Social Security yet. I'm pushing almost 64 years old, and I'm still working full time. And people may ask, well, why? And I got to tell you, I ask myself the same thing. I don't know why. I'm completely debt free. I don't have a ton of money in the bank. I got a little money in the bank. But honestly, I could make it because I don't have any bills. But I keep doing my job. And I keep thinking about Pam and how much I miss her. And you know, there's so many people out there go, my gosh, it's been over 3 years. Get over it. You ought to be better now. And I tell people, it slowly gets a little better, but it's still incredibly, incredibly hard. And so that's where, you know, I kind of get back talking about Sarasota Tim and his messages. They're fun. They're uplifting. For me, sometimes they're kind of Pollyanna. It's like, you know, it's just not that easy. And I'm happy for Tim. And I'm happy for all those people that are following him now. I mean, his channel exploded from about where our channel is, with about 4,000 subscribers, to now he has 50,000 subscribers. He's making money off the channel, and life is good, and he's living in Florida and living the dream. And I'm going to tell you, though, for those of us that have gone through extreme loss, it's just not that easy. I can remember when I got the job that I have now with a Christian radio network after working in commercial television my whole life. I can remember the day I got the job, and again, this was, you know, after I'd lost Pam. You would think I would have been filled with joy and ecstatic at this new opportunity, because Pam used to love listening to the network. I did too. It was all good, and then I get the job with them, and it's like, didn't have the excitement that I thought it would. And it's easy to figure out why. It's because she wasn't with me to share the joy. She wasn't here to be with me and walk through this new experience. And that's the thing about loss. When you lose your life partner, you lose that person that you share life with, and you share joy with, and you share those good moments with. And that's the thing, you know, Sarasota Tim, he's got this little lady friend named Tammy, and I don't know his whole story on relationships or whatever, but I'm pretty sure he hasn't lost a wife due to death or anything like that. And So he's cooking along, and I'm happy for him. And then some people always tell me, well, you got to find your girlfriend. It's like, no, it's not that easy. It's not like getting another pet dog or another parakeet or things like that. And yeah, I've met lots of really nice ladies and things, and I'm going to tell you, it's just the time's not right. It's just not right. May never be. I think often about my grandmother, Mama Lou, as I called her, Mama Lou and Papa Jack. And I still remember Mama Lou lost Papa Jack. Now I realize, wow, that was young. I mean, I was a little kid, but I remember he was only 61 years old. That was young. He had his own business. He had a real estate company. He had a box company. Mama Lou had her own beauty shop. It was almost like that show, that movie Sweet Magnolia. It was called Louise's Beauty Shop. It was a beauty shop in her home there in Union City, Tennessee. And I would go over to Mama Lou and Papa Jack's every Friday, and I spent the weekend with them. And it was great. And I learned a little bit about the beauty shop business while I was there, believe it or not. Didn't learn how to cut hair. Never let Mama Lou cut my hair. I said, you're really good with the blue-haired ladies, but I don't need you cutting my hair. But then I remember after she lost Papa Jack, and again, I was just a little kid. I'm young, dumb, and stupid. I can remember how in her beauty shop there, she would, shortly after she lost Papa Jack, I would still go over and spend weekends with her. And she would go get this picture of her and Papa Jack. And she'd come running out into the shop. Anybody that came in, and she'd show them a picture of her and Papa Jack. And she'd go, this is when we did this. She says, we had so much fun. And I never will forget. I was probably, how old was I when she lost Papa Jack? I guess I was 10 or 11 years old. And I can remember I said, the most cruel thing, at least now I can see how cruel it was. I said to her, I said, Mama Lou, I said, why do you keep taking out those silly photographs and going out there in the shop and showing pictures of you and Papa Jack to all your customers? He's not coming back. And I could see the hurt in her face. And she was, oh, Jackie. She called me Jackie. She goes, oh, Jackie. She says, you don't understand. She says, I just miss him so, so much. Wow. Who would have thought years later I would finally get it? I finally understood why Mama Lou brought those pictures out all the time and why she showed her and Papa Jack and how happy they were. Now, those of you, if you're switching over from the Sarasota Tim channel and you're tuning in to me right now, you're going, oh, brother, this guy's a downer. I don't want to watch him. Sarasota Tim's more uplifting. You bet he is. He is. He's in his world and I'm in my world. Does my world have some good moments? It does from time to time. But it's not the same. I get back to Mama Lou, and you might think, I can remember even as I got older, I'm thinking, well, Mama Lou, you just need to meet somebody. And she'd always say, you just don't understand, Jackie. You don't understand it. And Papa Jack, that's what I called him. He was Billy Jack Church as well. That's where I got my name. That's where my namesake came from. Well, you know what? Mama Lou lived to the old age of 94 years old. She lived to be 94. Did she remarry? Did she get a boyfriend? Nope. Never did. Went over 30 years. Almost as long as she'd been married to Papa Jack. And she navigated alone. And I can remember people would look at her and think, oh, she's doing so good, because she would travel a lot. She was like me. She loved to travel. But I know, too, that a lot of her friends that her and Papa Jack had that I remember who would come over and they'd play cards and do different things together, that they didn't come around as much anymore. Then I didn't think about it that much, but now I do. That Mama Lou seemed to always want to see me. And then when I married Pam, she loved coming to see us. Wherever we lived, she'd want to come to see us. And she looked forward to when we would call her. And now I get that too. I understand why just those simple phone calls are so important to her, and why just her coming to see us was so important, because I'm sure she was lonely. Now, she kept her beauty shop going for over 20 years. Can you believe that? She kept the beauty shop going for over 20 years, even after that. And as I mentioned, we lost Mama Lou at the age of 94. Now, she did have a friend, and her name was Ruby. And Ruby and her husband were friends of Mama Lou and Papa Jack's for years. But then Ruby lost her husband. And then Mama Lou and Ruby reconnected. And oh, what a relationship they had. And I never understood it till recently. That relationship was so important to them because they both were in the same place. They had both lost the love of their lives, and they were now navigating life all by themselves. And Ruby kind of became a part of mine and Pam's family just as Mama Lou was. When she would come out to see us, I mean, they came to see us in California, New York, Florida, wherever we lived, they came. And I know that they had good times, and we had good times with them. And it's funny now, it all starts coming together. But it's taken all these years now for me to understand. And then my other grandparents, Mom and Pop Morris, lived in a little town of Hornbeak, Tennessee. Some of you out there watching may know where Hornbeak is. It's a little nothing town. Pop Morris and I used to kid about it. We called it Hooterville. And that's back when the show Green Acres was on the air. And Pop and I would talk about, you think anybody's flying into Hooterville International today? Meaning the little airstrip, there's a little dirt strip near a farm in Hornbeak, and there was never anybody there. Well, Mom and Pop Morris, they retired, and well, Mom Morris had always been a homemaker. Pop had all kinds of different businesses. He was always into this and that. He also played some golf, and that's where I got my golfing from, I think. And we would go see them, Pam and I would, and it was always so good to see them because they were just, they were kind of the stereotypical sweet little couple. Oh, I'm sure they had some bad times here and there, and I'm sure they raised their voice to one another from time to time. Nothing's ever perfect. And I remember one time Pop told us, we were there visiting, and Pam and I used to say this all the time. Pop told us, he says, you're good people. You're good people, Jackie and Pam. And Pam and I, we would kid about that. And I miss kidding with Pam about those times when we'd have memories of Mom and Pop. Mom lost Pop when he was in his mid-80s, and then she lived 3 or 4 years later. And we still would go back and see her. Mom Morris and I, we used to call her every Sunday, and we'd talk about what was happening on the Pro Golf Tour. She loved watching the golf tournaments. And that was kind of her outlet after she lost Pop. They weren't big travelers like Mama Lou and Papa Jack. They were more, I guess you might call them homebodies. And, but Mom Morris loved watching golf, and that was something that we kind of held in common. Is we could call her and we'd talk about the golf tournaments. And I still remember the day that I lost Mom Morris. It was a Sunday, because I called her every Sunday afternoon. We'd talk about the golf tournaments. And I called one Sunday afternoon, and she didn't answer the phone. And I knew we'd lost Mom Morris that day. So I called her neighbor. Her neighbor's name was Jerry, and Jerry was a woman named Jerry, Jerri. And I called Jerry. I said, hey, Jerry, I said, you might want to go over and check on Mom Morris. I said, I think something's probably happened. I said, you know, I call her every Sunday, and we talk about the golf tournaments. And I said, she didn't answer. She says, oh, okay, Jackie, I'll go over there. And I remember looking at Pam, and I said, Pam, I said, I don't think Mom Morris is with us anymore. And Pam, the eternal optimist, kind of like Sarasota Tim, said, oh, no, I'm sure she's fine. I'm like, no, she always picks right up. You know, we every Sunday, unless we're on a trip or I know she's at some kind of event, a church event usually. I said, she's not here anymore. Well, Jerry called back a few minutes later. And now I can laugh about it. Jerry called, and she goes, Jackie, she goes, you're exactly right. She is dead as a doornail. Only in the South do they say something like that. I said, oh, goodness, Jerry. I said, I'm so sorry. I go, did she go peacefully? She goes, yes, she did. She said she was, you know how she would lay down and take a nap on those twin beds in their second bedroom? I said, yeah, I remember she'd go in there and lay down. She goes, well, it looks like she laid down, and I noticed there was a nitroglycerin pill out. Mom Morris would take a nitroglycerin pill for her heart. She said, I noticed there was a nitroglycerin pill laying out, and she had told me not long ago that she was tired of taking those silly pills, that she was ready to go home. That meaning go to heaven. And apparently this was the day. She decided not to take the little pill, and Mom Morris went to heaven. And I miss talking to her. Loss is hard. Grief and loss is hard. And then who would have thought, though? I mean, I'm talking about my grandparents who lived well into their 80s and 90s. Who would have thought that I would have lost Pam in her 50s? Man, that was never on the radar screen. Now, I will tell you, it's not something that we didn't talk about. Pam and I, we would talk about grief and loss a lot. We sometimes would talk about the potential loss of children, because we said we'd seen so many families destroyed when they lost a child and they didn't know how to live together anymore. And we said, if you never introduce the possibility, it will be devastating if you just never think it could ever happen to you. And so we had those discussions, and we had those discussions about losing one another. And of course, in Pam's final few months, we talked about it a lot. And those were some hard conversations. And it's not like the movies, though. You know, the movies, they always have these epic discussions, and the music comes up in the background, and you know what I'm talking about. It's not like that. More of the last couple of months with Pam was more me bugging the crap out of her, saying, are you okay? Can I get you something? Don't you want a drink? Hey, why don't you drink this? Or why don't you eat this? And no, it doesn't go as we plan. It just doesn't. And if you've ever lost someone close, at least for me, I was in constant denial right up into those last couple of hours. My kids knew it was time. And, you know, they're like, Dad, no, this isn't looking good. I'm like, no, I think she'll turn around any minute now. I was being Sarasota Tim. I'm like, no, it's going to be fine. And I guess in retrospect, it was fine. For Pam, at least. She's in heaven, or eventually she'll rise to heaven. Depends on how you interpret the Bible and such. But bottom line, no, she's better off. She's not in pain, all that good stuff. Boy, it's funny though. Her physical pain, she's no longer in that. And now though, I have heart pain. No, I don't have heart problems. I have a broken heart. You get a broken heart when you lose somebody. And you know, I've heard about people who have passed with what they call broken heart syndrome. It's a real thing. And I've thought there's times I could be a candidate for that. But no, I keep trying. I keep pushing forward. And now through the advent of social media and this thing called YouTube, we sit here and we tell our stories to people we've never met in our entire life. I have no idea why. Well, I do know why. Part of it is it seems that people get a little comfort in hearing and sharing these stories because it's relatable. I'm sure there's some of you out there watching, and I know there's lots of comments popping up, and I'm sorry I can't read them while I'm talking. I'll read them later, but I know that you know, you watch because you're like, yeah, he gets it, he understands. And when I read your comments later, I'll go, yeah, you get it, you understand. And then also the thing about putting yourself out there is you'll get some mean comments. Oh, I get a lot of those. And I try and tell myself, don't worry about it. You don't know these people. What do you care if they're saying mean things to you? There's people saying mean things to Sarasota Tim. It just rolls off his back. For me, I've always been a little tender-hearted. And then there's times, believe it or not, today I'd pretty well convinced myself. I said, you know what? I'm not doing this silly YouTube thing. I'm not doing the post anymore. I'm tired of doing it. I just don't want to do it anymore. And then I was out here taking this walk, and I thought, oh, fine. I need to talk about it. I guess maybe it's kind of like going to a therapist. All you guys and girls out there watching, it's like I have a therapist on YouTube that I'm just talking to. You're taking notes and you're listening. The difference is I don't have to pay you. Oh, gosh. Yeah, this grief journey, it sucks. It's not like the same journey as Sarasota Tim. And I did this other video about him talking about I'd love to see our channel explode and I could make money with my channel like Sarasota Tim does. And then I thought, no, that's okay. That really is. I mean, I start thinking about it, it's like I don't really want to make a lot of money because I lost Pam. That seems wrong. And I know people are looking for hope and positive messages. If you came here for that tonight and you're looking for somebody like Sarasota Tim, you didn't find him. And my apologies. Now, I will tell you, I'm not bragging, but when I was a TV weather guy, people always said, we like watching Jack because he's positive, he's uplifting, he's funny. That was me for many years. I was that guy. I was like Sarasota Tim on television. Everybody was my friend. Oh, there were a few naysayers, but I'm going to tell you, the vast majority of my career, people always comment about how happy I was. And sometimes I'll go back. You can look on YouTube, Jack Church Weather. You can find me. And I look at those videos, and then I start to go down that thing of living in the past. I look at them and I go, wow, you were actually pretty good at doing that. Wow, you seem happy there. But at the same time, some of those videos are in the year after I lost Pam. I went back on the air less than 2 weeks after I lost Pam. And there were a lot of people watching who had absolutely no clue. It's just Happy Jack back on the air. He seems to be doing really, really well. You know, so I'm sure probably Sarasota Tim's got some things going on in his life, but he's good at covering it up. I used to be really good at covering up. I used to, with a lot of these videos, I would try and cover up and put on the happy face for you because I thought that's what you needed. But that's not real. This isn't a Hollywood production here. This is me with a cell phone and a camera and some not great audio quality, not great video quality. I know it looks like I'm in a tomb right now. I'm sitting on a patio here, like I said, in Arizona. It's dark right now. But I do hope, if anything, when I do the messages, that those of you who comment and talk to one another, that you've got somebody that you can talk to and reach out to. And I know it's hard. I know it is for me. And that idea of just finding somebody else sounds like a great idea, but it's just not right for me. Not now. The person I talked to all the time was Pam. From high school through college, early years of marriage, up into our 50s, and then I lost her. Boy, that sure didn't turn out as planned. I talked about that. We talked about death and loss a lot, me and her did. And we also talked about what we would do later in life. We always said we won't necessarily retire, but maybe we'll retire and then get fun jobs. And that's kind of what Sarasota Tim does. That's what he preaches. You know, he's drawing his Social Security. He didn't get rich in life, and he has these little fun sideline jobs that he does. But it's kind of like I told you when I got the job with the Christian radio network. I thought that would be the ticket, and that would bring me joy, but it didn't, because a lot of my joy, yeah, I know, all right, the Christians out there are going to say, well, aren't you a Christian? Don't you believe in God? Yes, I do, and I know our joy is found in Christ. But God gave me Pam as well, and I guess he gave me to her. He brought us together, you know what I mean? And then he took her away. And that took away a lot of my joy. It just did. And nothing you say in your comments or whatever is going to change that. Okay? I can't change you. You can't change me. That's just not how it goes. But my joy was taken away. And that's why now when I think about, yeah, I could retire. There's a lot of mornings I wake up going, I don't want to have to worry about work today. I don't want to have to worry about emails. I don't want to worry about having to make these contacts. I don't want to have to worry about filling out these reports and this and that. I just want to relax. And then I think about it and I go, well, relaxation sounds good to a point. And it gets back to, well, I could get one of those fun jobs, but you know what? The fun job wouldn't be as fun without Pam. Because she and I used to say, we'll get a fun job together. We used to say we wanted to maybe work part-time at Trader Joe's. We thought that'd be fun because we love going to Trader Joe's. And some of you who may have followed me for the last couple of years may recall I got a job at Trader Joe's after I quit television. Didn't know what I was going to do. And I got the job. And I gave them the story. I told them, they asked me, said, why do you want to work here? And I told them, I said, well, my wife and I, we loved coming to Trader Joe's. We used to love the sample of the day. And we used to talk about how that someday we want to get fun jobs and work at Trader Joe's. And they said, well, we certainly want people that love us, love our products to work for. So they hired me. And I never forget the first day of orientation. I was there at Trader Joe's for orientation. And I could tell this wasn't feeling right. This wasn't what I visioned working at Trader Joe's to be like. Pam's supposed to be here with me. And there was this other couple there that was about our age. And they were so cute together. And I started talking to them. They had moved to Nashville from California. I said, hey, why are you guys here? And I couldn't believe it. They said, well, we always said when we got older, we wanted to get fun jobs together. And we always wanted to work at Trader Joe's. Wow. So I'm watching them, and you know how the story goes. It was too hard. I was watching what the life was that I had planned for later on, what Pam had planned for later on. And they were doing it. It was like right there in front of me. But it wasn't the life that I was going to get to lead. Me being alone at Trader Joe's, yeah, I got to interact with customers and employees and things like that, but it just wasn't the same. It wasn't the same. So I had to leave. I stayed there a week. And they were great. And they told me, they said, though, you know what? Once a Trader Joe's employee, always a Trader Joe's employee. So you never know. Someday maybe it'll be right. Right now it's not. And that's the thing about the grief journey. It is entirely different for everyone. There are some people who may have actually watched this and they're going, I don't know what his problem is. I'm doing fine. God bless you if you are. And I will say, I keep putting one foot in front of the other. I still wake up every morning. I still do my job. I still do my thing. And then people say, well, you're out meeting people? Oh my gosh. Yes, I am. I meet new people every day. I've told you about the story of I hand out my little card with my email and phone number on it. I hand them out by the dozens every week. Don't rarely hear from anybody. I still think people think I'm probably a nut job. That's okay. But I do have connections. I don't really have friends here in Phoenix. I have a lot of acquaintances. And the thing about acquaintances is they don't really know you. They don't know your back end story, and that's a little different. And a lot of times they don't want to hear your back end story. They don't care. And I get that. That's okay. And a lot of these acquaintances, some of them I've really enjoyed getting to know and waiting to get together with them again, and then they ghost me. That's okay. That's just how life goes these days. I've been ghosted by a lot of folks out there, and that's all right. It's kind of like this YouTube channel. I talked about Sarasota Tim, 50,000 and growing. He gets thousands of views. I mean, I'm looking here, we got 27 people watching live. Thank you to you 27 people that are watching live. In the YouTube world, in the Sarasota Tim world, that's nothing. But for those of you that are watching, I hope maybe you're getting a little something out of this. I mean, and I suspect you're probably lonely. That's probably why you're watching. I mean, because my gosh, there's 10,000 cable channels. There's Netflix, there's Prime, there's Hulu. There's all those different things you could be watching. And for some reason, you're watching this guy sitting in the dark in Phoenix talking about grief and loss who's nearly broke down and cried 3 or 4 times. Kind of like the Truman Show, though. Remember that movie? People, it was all just watching Truman grow up and watching his everyday life. There's something to be said for that, I guess. And I watched that movie not long ago, and I did like it. So, I don't know if I got much else to share with you right now. I wish I did. Again, that title was about grief and about Sarasota Tim. And like I said, I have a lot of people who they'll make comments on I have this one video where I just talked about his channel, the explosion of the channel, and how tongue-in-cheek I said he was my hero, how he had exploded. And I had people jumping in immediately going, well, he's an extremely friendly guy. He's fun to listen to. He's positive. He's upbeat. And I got what they were saying. They were twisting the needle. They were kind of pushing the old needle in on me, saying, you're not that way. But again, I want you to know, I wasn't always this way. I was Happy Jack, the weather guy. I was Happy Jack with the trophy wife, Happy Jack with the 2 great kids and all that. And I still got my kids, I do, and I still enjoy seeing them. But it's a different relationship you have between your kids and between your wife. Totally, totally different. My son once said, he says, Dad, you and Mom were joined at the hip. And we were. We really were. I can remember another one of her friends said that we were like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. One went with the other. We had a lot of people say a lot of really nice things about us. And I know there were times that I was probably a jerk. I wasn't that great to be around. But she kept me. And man, I sure do appreciate her for that. I've looked back to some of the pictures when we were first married, and some of you have ever looked online, seen pictures I posted of Pam. Up into her, she still looked, she was the trophy. She really was. And I look at some of the pictures when we were first married, and here was this petite 5'4", 115-pound woman who, again, never changed over life. And I had a news director first couple of years in television tell me, he says, we're going to have to get a tent maker to make your suit you get any bigger. And I kept thinking, why? I look back at those and I go, why in the world did she stay with me? I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I was fat. I don't know why she stayed with me. But she did. And then I slimmed down over the years. Still not that slim. But, she did get prettier and prettier as she got older. And sometimes, lots of times, that can happen with women. This wasn't an illusion. I've had a lot of people, a lot of our friends too, say, yeah, it was amazing. She really evolved over time. So maybe she wore off on me a little bit because I did start taking better care of myself as well. And, when she had that first scare with cancer, which was over 15 years ago now, we changed everything, and it ended up, she stayed the same physically. She got better, of course. Then she went 10 years plus without cancer. And me, though, the changes we made in lifestyle and diet choices, things like that, I lost a good bit of weight, and I've continued with those lifestyle choices that we made then, and that was a good decision. So once again, Pam's legacy lives on, if you know what I mean. It certainly does. So I said earlier, I don't have much else. And as I sit here, I start thinking of other things and start talking to you. And now as I'm looking at myself in the camera, I'm thinking, how ridiculous is this? That I'm sitting out here talking to complete and total strangers about my life. Holy cow, have I fallen off the deep end? Have I just totally lost it? No, it's just a change in the world. That's how it is. And I always get back to this channel is called Traveling with Jack and Pam because we started this channel together. So I'm kind of thinking Pam's probably happy that we're still doing this. I know she's happy with the growth. Sarasota Tim talks about him and Miss Tammy and growing the channel. And I always tell people, you know what? Don't watch, don't subscribe for me. Do it for Pam. Do it for Pam. I never will forget when we were so excited when we got our 100th subscriber. You would have thought we'd made it to the moon and back. Pam was so excited. We got 100 subscribers. Now we got close to 4,000. And of those 4,000, the sad part is the vast majority of you never knew Pam. You just see her picture on the channel there. You hear me talk about her, but you didn't see her. You didn't know her. You only hear stories about her from me. I want to tell you, she was absolutely the best. And of course, everybody that's been married, we say that about our spouses. She really was, though. She was so kind and caring. She cared about others to an extent that I it goes beyond comprehension. And I still hear from people now, 3+ years later, who tell me how even in her final weeks, she was still sending out notes and cards and asking people, "How are you doing?" She would pray over people who had a bad cold, and there she was, cancer in her bones, and she's praying over people with a bad cold. That was just Pam. And I can remember that I would kid her sometimes, probably wasn't very nice. Like, "Oh my gosh, what are you sending them a card for?" Well, it'd be something trivial. But that was Pam. That was Pam. And then when I think about that, it's like, well, gee, God, why in the world would you take a person like that first and not me? Come on, God. She was the one who was just admired and just loved and just was always there for everybody. And you took her away first? Then somebody might say, well, you were the TV weather guy. He had to leave you. No, really? And then I think, and I haven't said this in a long time, but I've thought, if I'd known it was going to be this hard, I'm so glad she didn't have to experience loss before I did. And somebody's probably laughing in the background going, huh, you got a pretty high opinion of yourself, don't you? No, she would have been hurt. She would have been crushed if I'd gone first. That's something none of you would understand or know. But I know it. Because she loved me unconditionally. And she was there, and she'd put up with my crap, and she put up with our moving all over the country, and she always put on the happy face, and she always held it together for everybody. She was so special. And so that's the reason I'm glad she's not having to walk this journey of loss, because it hurts. And I know she had a lot of physical pain those last few months. But I know she is better off now. And I'm glad she didn't have to experience this kind of emotional pain that grief and loss is. And again, there's people all over the internet, all over YouTube that you can watch who have these positive, uplifting messages. And people will post on different pieces of media these fancy sayings, positive messages, and sometimes I look at them and I go, yeah, that's cool, that's right. And then I just kind of move on. They don't have the same effect on. I don't think the positive messages have quite the same effect on those of us who've lost someone as they do those who are continuing on the journey and haven't experienced deep loss yet. Heck, I can remember Pam and I, when we were trying to start that little real estate company and starting our YouTube channel, we would watch these positive message videos all the time. And man, we were into it. We were rah, rah, rah. Now they don't have the same effect. Now that's where, again, our buddy Sarasota Tim living the good life. Everybody loves him, watches his channel. Everybody's rah, rah, rah. I haven't seen it. I've read through the comments I've heard. Not a lot of his followers have experienced this type of loss. Some may have. And they go to him and they get something out of it. But for me, it doesn't quite work after a while. I get a kick out of watching him, but then I kind of move on. It quickly goes away. So where is life headed next? I have absolutely no idea. I really, really don't. One day I think I'm going to do this. One day I think I'm going to do that. One day I'm going to live here. One day I'm going to live there. I really, really don't know. I thought about the lottery the other day that went up to like $1 billion. I thought, man, I'd like to win that. And then I thought if I won it, I'd probably just give every single cent of it away. Because I'm going to tell you guys and girls, you can't buy happiness. Now, I will say, extra money does help. It does help. Doesn't make it all go away, though. So if I won $1 billion, I would love to just bless people worldwide. I love doing that. And that's what I try and do here by keeping it real, so to speak. Did I mention to you, I have my young friend from Kenya here, who every Sunday, though, I take her to lunch somewhere, and then we go on what we call our little American adventure. And they may seem silly to you, but they're a big deal to her. Like we'll go to IKEA, or we'll go to Bath and Body Works, things like that. And eventually I'm going to take her to the Grand Canyon before she's got to go back to Kenya. And I've had some good Sundays with her. And those days have been better. I still wake up on Sunday mornings with that heavy, sad feeling. But then I take her to church, then we're out for the afternoon, and I have some joy. And then I come crashing down again, usually in the evening. It's kind of like, too, a big reason I came to Phoenix was to be near Lola, our adopted grandmother. And man, I looked forward to seeing Lola. I'd go see her usually at least twice a week, and we'd drink coffee, and we'd visit, and we'd share stories. And Lola is another one who lost her husband, kind of like my Mama Lou did when she was only in her early 60s. And she then lived 35 years alone. She, too, always came to see us wherever we lived. And but she opened up to me in that last year here in Phoenix that there were a lot of days that she was putting on a fake front. She and I would kid, we'd said we could both win Academy Awards for acting. She was 30 years into the grief journey and still doing some acting. So I'm 3.5 years in and still acting. And to the people that say, oh, come on, you ought to be over it. Well, shame on you. You don't get it. And maybe you have lost somebody and you got over it in 3.5 years. Good for you. Different for everybody. Different for everybody. That's about it. I'm going to shut this down. This will, of course, go over to our page. It'll be processed and then it'll be available if you want to share it with others who might want to watch. Again, I apologize all the messages that we're seeing there. And I have to be careful too. I mentioned earlier, I appreciate everybody that comments and they watch and such, but you got to be careful nowadays. I don't know who's out there. I'm sure the vast majority of you are good, fine people and such, but you got to be careful. And I'll be honest, I kind of prefer to meet people organically, meaning I'm in a coffee shop and we run into each other and we strike up a conversation, or I run into you at church or something like that. That's going to be the best way that someone's ever going to get to know me. It's kind of like when I was on television. Everybody was my buddy and my friend, but I didn't go over to everybody's house. And trust me, I had lots of invitations. People wanting me and Pam to visit. And there were a few. You can usually weed out and figure out, and we had some dear friends. But as a general rule, no, I'm not going to do a lot of interacting. And I apologize for that. And I don't mean to hurt anybody's feelings, okay? Hey, that was lightning and I hear thunder, so I better get home. I got about a mile walk. So take care, everyone. And again, thanks for watching, and keep subscribing. We've also got a donation button. More importantly, just share this with others who might get something out of this, and tell them, no, he's no Sarasota Tim. No, I'm not. But I'm keeping it real, okay? As we always say, make it a great day. Better yet, a better tomorrow. Don't forget to the podcast. You can find it on all your podcast providers. Love letters to Pam. Bye now.